My Uncle Bert, he's my great uncle, but we call him Uncle Bert. He got bowel cancer now. He's dying of it, you know. And, or like some people like to say, now see, in the old days, a man could just get sick and die, you know. Now, they have to wage a battle. So my Uncle Bert is waging a courageous battle, which I've seen because I go and visit him, and this is the battle. He's lying in a hospital bed with a thing in his arm watching Matlock on the TV. Instead of that battle, I got him the box set of Matlock. But it's not his fault. What the f*** is he supposed to do? I gotcha. It's just a black thing in his bowel. And the reason I don't like it is because in the old days they go, hey, that old man died. Now they go, hey, he lost his battle. That's no way to end your life, you know. What a loser that guy was. Last thing he did was lose. He was waging a brave battle, but at the end, I guess he got kind of cowardly was what happened. And then the bowel cancer, it got brave. You got to give it to the bowel cancer. You know, they were in a battle, and then what the And I'm pretty sure, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure if the cancer dies, I mean, if you die, the cancer also dies at exactly the same time. So that, to me, is not a loss, that's a draw. That's a, you know what I mean? It's not like the cancer's gonna jump up and go, Uncle Bert's wife. Where is he? I won fair and square. Is this where he works? Hi, name's Cancer. How are you? Where do I? You just throw me to my cubicle. Bowel. First name is Bowel.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's too late with Alan Mosley.
Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the number one producer in late night. It's Sherry Voluntary. Sherry, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm a little sad about Norm, but I dressed up for you.
If Sherry, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Like everybody's getting their panties in the wad about Texas trying to outlaw abortions and the Supreme Court not doing anything. But here's what you do. This is the fix is in, folks. This is what you do. If people could just sell their babies, then they would be financially incentivized to carry the baby to term, and then we would have more economic growth and more not dead babies. Am I right or am I right?
I would say someone's been reading Rothbard.
Like it's not okay. So it's not slavery though, right? Because you're not like, okay, I misspoke. You're not selling the baby. Like Walter Block would sell the baby.
Right.
I'm not saying
you're not reading Walter Block.
I'm not selling the baby. I'm selling the parental rights to the baby.
That makes it okay.
Like
it's like adoption, right?
Like if I have some land I'm not using and I sell the rights to the land to you for like a couple of years and you use it to grow a crop. Like so I'm selling you the parental rights to the baby.
Sounds legit.
Like this is how you know that like liberty will never win. No. Is because I know that like 98% of people that could hear what we just said would say that's crazy. These people are crazy. But but these are the same people that if you complain about something, their answer will be, well, I don't see you coming up with anything. Right. I just came up with something.
And they don't like it. Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, and they're the same people that think that murdering the babies is preferable to selling, their rights to them. Whatever.
Well, like, there's people out there that like their comeback would be, well, there'll be some evil pedophile, or there'll be some like Chinese doctor that's going to buy up the babies and then harvest their organs, as
Oh,
opposed to chop them up and throw them in the toilet.
right.
Like,
Exactly. In a dumpster, half alive, sucked out their brain, half their brain. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
That would
Just
be just
half,
horrendous.
not the whole brain, just
Right. Just half.
just the
Just so
half.
they suffer.
Speaking about wanting people to suffer, everybody, the internet was on fire over AOC's dress at the recent Met Gala ball. Take a look at this right here. This is her dress. Tax the rich. Now, I tell you what, she made the classic blunder.
Yes.
If
she
you're
did.
ever going to wear anything or hold a sign that's white with text written on it, you know that people are going to Photoshop whatever the hell they want to put there. Like everyone's got the picture of Michelle Obama with her pouty face, holding the sign. And I'm pretty sure it said something like save our girls in
Right.
Nigeria or something. But then people put on there, Biden touched my pee-pee, stuff like that. So anyway, there's dozens of these pictures out here. This is just the one that I picked out. Take a look at this right here. Of course, let them eat cake. And
That's
I'll
a
be honest
narrow
with you.
ass brown girl. I'm just saying.
I'll be honest with you. There were other funnier ones than that, but I picked that one because I felt like it was more appropriate. That she's one of these people who's gone on record saying, I'm going to wear a mask until the pandemic is over. Even
Right.
after I'm vaccinated, everyone should be forced to do this. Everyone's got to do their part. And there she is at this big public gathering, not wearing a mask. And also, by the way, it's like $35,000 a ticket or something to go to that thing. Because if you want to signal that I'm a champion of the working class, you go to private galas for $30,000 a plate. That's what you do. So anyway, and the only people there wearing masks are the help, which
Right.
kind of, I feel like that's really saying something right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps some animals are more equal than others.
Yeah. That sounds right, Alan.
I saw Glenn Greenwald, and I like Glenn Greenwald, and
Yeah.
he's looking for a way
Great.
more poetic take on it than I just did. And his take is that the elite class has always looked at the others as the servant class, and you're just a nameless, faceless servant. And
Yep.
now they're literally making them nameless and faceless, as
Yes.
opposed to only figuratively.
That sounds very Greenwaldian.
Yeah, Greenwaldian. I like that.
Greenwaldian. I just coined that.
I wonder what people are going to say some years from now about Mosleyan philosophy.
Mosleyan.
Moslish.
Kill them all.
Moslaic.
That's the language of the elves in our land.
What is?
Moslish.
Moslish? Okay. Sherry, you want to know how I know that it's all political theater?
How's that?
Don't laugh until I deliver the punchline. If there was a truly dangerous pandemic going on, then there wouldn't have been a Met Gala to begin with, right? Like
Correct.
it wouldn't have they would have done a Zoom call like all the rest of us have to do.
Mhm.
See, everything that you love and cherish has to be shut down, but everything they get to do, they get to go on living.
Right.
Unlike Norm Macdonald.
Oh God.
I tell you what, I'm really gonna try to channel my inner Norm Macdonald for this show because he recently passed away. But then I realized that might not be a good idea because if I channel my inner Norm Macdonald, I'm gonna die of cancer.
Oh.
So I don't know.
I wish I didn't like him so much. These would land a little different. You hit me right in the feels.
Speaking of that, we did an episode a few weeks ago about the whole hashtag Free Britney phenomenon, Britney Spears.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
some updates about that. So she got engaged.
What?
It'll just be a different man looking after her, I guess.
Right,
But
I
her
guess.
father apparently was also going to file to end the conservatorship. So I don't know, maybe something's going to come of that. But Free Britney fans were taken aback this afternoon. Take a look at this. Britney had only used Instagram to connect and communicate
Right.
with her fans, and her Instagram has since been deleted. So people don't know if that's a sign of that she's moving on or if that's a sign that something is terribly awry. So come to think of it, I've never seen Norm Macdonald and Britney Spears at the same place at the same time. I mean, they're of an age, right? Like they're both about 61, give or take. You know,
Yeah.
it reminded me, Louis C.K. did this bit before
Oh,
about Britney Spears and how he was making fun of how, she was this young girl on TV that
right.
they uber sexualized, and you've got all these
Mm-hmm.
people at home just jacking off to her, Not, I'm
Schoolgirl
sorry.
outfit.
I'm sorry, it's just how it is.
They did it on purpose. Yeah.
But then he got to talking, and he was talking about Britney Spears, and he said, because she's a little bit worse for wear nowadays than she was back then when she was wearing the schoolgirl outfit. And then the joke was is that she called up to him. She was 18 when he was 37, and now they're both 45. That's that's what happened to Britney Spears.
Sounds
On
about
that
right.
note, before we go to the final commercial break, I do have another clip of Norm Macdonald. Norm was a big sports guy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we're big sports people. We do sports ball here. I love sports. And in the later years of his life, Norm really wasn't doing a whole lot of comedy. He was just living the dream, just
Yeah.
following his favorite teams. And if you go and look at his Twitter today, you'll see that most of his Twitter is just him tweeting about the games that he's watching and what the score is and stuff, which I like that. I like that he was
Yeah.
doing something that he enjoyed as opposed to touring the country or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But being a big sports guy, he actually got to perform at the ESPY Awards, the sports awards that
Right.
ESPN puts on. This is
Okay.
him performing at the 1997 ESPYs. Take a look at this.
There's Charles Woodson. How about that? And what a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case, all bets are off. Just a word of advice.
Oh, my word.
Oh,
O.J.
Oh.
Simpson jokes will never die, unlike
No.
Norm Macdonald. Guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week in the viewer mail right after this break. Don't go away. Before we get carried away, Norm was a bit of a ladies' man. He was a big fan. He was a big fan of the women.
women.
Take a look at this.
Who are safer drivers, men or women? Well, according to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do. No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Oh man, he was
Where's the lie?
he was at least one of, if not the best anchor on Weekend Update, and it was the
Yeah.
aforementioned O.J. Simpson jokes that got him fired from that.
Mm,
Right before
yep.
we got started tonight, I happened to see on Twitter that, of course, the Twitter account for SNL is like, "Oh, we're in deep sorrow because
Right.
Norm Macdonald's like you pieces of shit were the ones who canned him from Weekend Update. I don't want to hear a word from y'all.
Yeah.
I
Shut
don't
your
want to
hole.
hear. I know. Where's O.J. Simpson when you need him? Am I right? Hey Sherry,
Yes.
what time is it?
Meme of the week. I love the drums. I feel like we're going to Africa or something.
Joe Biden uses the mandates to locate civil war.
Right.
Boy, that happened. That happened last week on Thursday, and it always seems to something juicy happens on Thursday, the day after we've done our show, and then
Yes.
we have to like wait all week to dig
Mm-hmm.
into it. But we do have a bonus meme. Check out the bonus meme. Old men living in a swamp dispensing executive orders is no basis for a system of government.
That's great. No, just a farcical mask.
Oh man. On that note, let's answer some viewer mail.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Isn't that so satisfying?
I know. I needed this sound today.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's what the heart monitor on Norm Macdonald's machine sounded like earlier
come
today. Jonathan Carranza writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, who is your favorite pop culture icon and who is your least favorite? Sherry, who's your favorite pop culture icon?
I don't know, man. I love Stevie Nicks, I'd wear her skin around like a suit if I could, but she's like teeny and I'm not.
That's not creepy at all. So
I just want to be little Stevie.
I thought you were going to say Dolly Parton.
I do love Dolly too. Oh yeah, definitely Dolly too. Yeah, I'm more like Dolly.
I feel like Dolly is a more impactful cultural icon than Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
but
needed
hold
a man
on.
to tell me.
But who is your least favorite?
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot. I don't know if I can. I don't know. Every sitting president at the time too. Like.
This is I'm gonna give you a weird random answer. I don't really give a shit about her music at all. In fact, I couldn't even tell you if I've ever listened to one of her songs start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to that Met Gala from earlier, Billie Eilish was in the news because she was at that and she was wearing like a more classic older gown type thing. And she's got these massive knockers, right? Like, and I'm sorry, she just does.
Right.
And people didn't know that
I'm not
because she
about
wears
that.
baggy clothes, how the kids
Right.
do these days. And the reason why I bring this up is that she's one of these artists who does not sexualize herself. She doesn't allow that of herself. She wants it to be about her artistry. But no matter what she does, the media tries to sexualize her. So it's kind of creepy that when all these adults that are 20, 30, 40 years her senior are like, look how big her tits are. And so she responded to those people by saying, go fuck yourself. And I was like, hey, that's pretty, I can respect that.
Yeah.
I kind of can. So Jonathan, I bet you didn't guess I was going to say Billie Eilish, did you?
Nobody saw that coming.
No, just had big boobs though.
Yeah.
Logan Denny writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, what do you guys think about the Netflix series Castlevania?
Oh.
Logan, we've talked about doing like a whole thing, whole segment talking about Castlevania. Castlevania is the tits. It's the Billie Eilish. It really is. It's one of the rare series that's based on a video game, but they actually do a good job, and it's not just corny and off base. It's a product done by Netflix, but they farmed it out to the studio that genuinely took care of the source material, and also it didn't run too long. It had a start, it had a finish, and the ending was fantastic.
Yes,
it really was.
Game Over. Yes.
I feel like we probably won't talk about any more about it because we might save that for another day because
another show.
Another show even.
Ooh.
Now you guys know we're going to talk about Castlevania on the Sports Ball with Mike and Al. That's what we're going to do.
Right.
Andrew Avery writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, not a pun, but do kangaroos ground their kids? I like how Andrew tagged other people and none of them responded. They all read it too and said, you know what, I'm going to take this week off.
I'm just going to allow him to go with this. It's really their fault.
It's really our fault. We should have notified Andrew in advance. Why don't you take the week off? Do some soul searching. Think about where you fit in this company.
Right.
Andrew is employee number 100 for us, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yikes.
Ryan Seifert writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, if you could be any animal other than human, what would it be?
Oh, easy.
What is it?
I'd be a snow leopard.
A
Complete,
snow
like fluffy tail and everything. Yeah,
a
that's
snow
totally
leopard.
me. I love cats.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I've always said mongoose.
Yeah, that I can see that.
Mongoose are dope.
Yeah, and
Mon
they're shifty.
they certainly are shifty. They would make great FBI agents. There's no doubt about that. But
They're too
like
smart for that.
they just walk up to king cobras and are like,
Bring it.
"What's up?"
Yeah, Molan Labe, bitches.
Wow. They speak Greek. That's amazing.
That that yes,
Um,
and I mean that just seems like such an appropriate animal for the agent of chaos, like Alan
I just
Mosley.
want to point out, by the way, you've done something to move your Skype logo to the top right corner, so it's no longer being blocked by
I
my
didn't,
logo.
I didn't
Why did
do
you
it.
do that?
I you know I can't do shit. I didn't do that.
Guys, we're in so Sherry's actually employee number 101. We're in the market for another. Once we get rid of Andrew, then we'll have a space freed up for a new producer.
One more
Um,
producer succumbs to goat AIDS.
Clay Davis, that runs in the family here on this program. Have you noticed that?
Ew.
All right.
Ew.
Um, Clay Davis writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, what did you always like to buy off of the ice cream truck as a kid? We didn't have any
Yeah,
money.
I was gonna say we didn't buy
Look at
shit off
me.
the ice cream.
I'm going to go buy ice cream off the ice cream truck with my millions of dollars.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't
We just
all
sat in the house and said, I don't want it anyways.
we didn't grow up with a silver spoon in our mouth like Clay Davis, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, erudite.
Clay Davis went to the Met Gala ball, I bet. I wonder what he had written on his white gown.
He just brought a big, huge sword.
Right? We don't have time. I'm sorry. We got to move on.
I know.
Celeste Annis writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, do you prefer cider or hot chocolate?
Oh,
Sherry?
cider. Cider
What?
all day, every day. Yes.
What?
Yes. Yes. Good cider. Ooh. Yeah.
So I'm about to learn y'all something. So I don't drink coffee. Like everybody I know drinks coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
And you can tell because I just don't have an ounce of energy. But whenever I'm going somewhere and I'm forced into a situation where everyone's going to go to like a coffee shop and everyone's going to grab a drink and sit down and have a
Jaw.
meeting or something,
Yeah.
I always order hot chocolate because coffee places have, like they
Yeah.
always have hot chocolate on the menu all year because it's just a thing that they stock, right?
For the children's.
So I order hot chocolate off the children's menu when I go to Starbucks. That's what I do. No, not cider. What?
Cider's delicious.
Cider is what you drink when you're 83 and you're staring death in the face.
I mean, have you seen me?
I haven't seen you and Norm Macdonald at the same place at the same time
That's
either.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Lyle Durio writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, have you ever played shuffleboard? What is it with our fans thinking we do things that only the rich and famous ever do?
And that's only 80-year-olds in Florida when they're retired.
You drink your cider, you get your ice cream, you play shuffleboard, and then you
Right.
die of bowel cancer after waging a battle.
Right, a battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't shuffleboard something you do like on a ship, like a cruise, or isn't that where that normally is, right?
I always see this is the thing. I always felt like cornhole got really popular. You
Yeah,
know,
I
you
like
get the two board, you throw the bean bags. Is
Mhm.
that I always felt like cornhole was the thing that rednecks do instead of shuffleboard.
Or even before that, I mean, my family, we did horseshoes. There was no such thing as cornhole where I came from. You'd add a horseshoe,
Now,
stuff the thing in the
horseshoes,
ground.
what you do with horseshoes is that because you don't want the errant throws to roll way far away and have to go
Right.
retrieve them, so you have to have a catcher back behind the pole. Horseshoes was the most dangerous game at my house.
I mean, I can see every game being dangerous at your house.
Come to think of it, that might just have been us.
Yes.
We weren't playing shuffleboard though. That's for goddamn sure. Swear to God.
These people.
Clay Davis. Clay, you already had a turn.
He's
He
always
says, I
taking
hope it's
extra.
not too late to squeeze in a Norm Macdonald segment. Boy, Clay is really going to be in for a treat tonight, isn't he?
Yes and no.
Clay, I'm sorry we didn't make it to Showtime. And finally this evening, Eric Eli writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, what would you have put on the back of AOC's dress? Sherry, what would you have had on the back of AOC's dress?
Visit euthanasia.com.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think I can say on air what I would put on the back of AOC's dress. But I'll give you a hint. It would need to be dry cleaned afterwards. Guys, we're going to be back to talk about Joe Biden and his mandates right after this commercial break. Don't go away. Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for It's Too Late with Alan Mosley. Email us at info@alanmosley.tv. I give you one last one. Norm Macdonald was on that show that Jerry Seinfeld does. Comedians, comedians in cars getting coffee or whatever.
Some stupid name like that.
And of course, Norm being Norm, most of the comedians that go on there, like first of all, a bunch of them aren't even comedians. Like he has Obama on there. Like
Right.
anyone cares what that war criminal has to say.
Right. Exactly.
Which probably really tells you something about Jerry Seinfeld too, by the way.
Yes.
So anyway, most of it's not really that funny. Most of it is them talking about life or whatever. And
Right.
in the episodes I've seen, the ones who are on there that have a shtick, they're not really doing their shtick. But you learn something about Norm Macdonald, which is that was how Norm was all the time.
Mm.
And so he's there at the diner or whatever with Jerry, and he goes, Patton Oswalt told me. Patton Oswalt, little troll.
Right.
He says, Patton Oswalt told me, I think the worst part of the Cosby thing was the hypocrisy, but I disagree. And Jerry Seinfeld says, oh, you disagree? And Norm goes, well, yeah, I thought it was the raping.
Yeah. How about that? Who would have thought the rape would have been worse than hypocrisy? I don't know.
So anyway, well that was our token rape reference for this week's show. So anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk a little bit about Biden's proclamations from last Thursday. We talked really earlier in the show how that happened on Thursday, and we do the show on Wednesday nights. And so like it happened right after we were done, and then we sort of, man, I was hot.
Mm-hmm.
I was PO'd. I actually went on Friday night on Liberty Late Night, our friends Dave and Mary. And they just, they had some people on. They were just going to chit chat about, what it said and what does that mean for you?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to react and all that? And so I went on there to vent because they knew that, man, Alan's like, he's about to go in the Fed over this. And so anyway, for people that are totally living under a rock and don't know, so basically the Biden administration is going to try to ram through via executive order and via like some regulations in OSHA, because that makes perfect sense, right? Like they're looking
Right.
for a way to tyrannize people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to do it through OSHA, and there's different aspects to like this 6-point plan. But the big point that everyone's really talking about is they're going to try to enforce a federal mandate that says businesses with over 100 employees, they have to mandate the vaccine. So it's the government telling the businesses, you have to mandate the vaccine for your employees. But only if you have over 100 employees, because as we all know, if there's 99 people or less working in the office, COVID can't get in.
Right. It's like a barrier. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we also talked earlier in the show that the same people who are cheering on this just flagrantly immoral act are the
Mm-hmm.
same people going to the Met Gala, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
taking any precautions. They're not social distancing. They're not doing any of that crap.
Right. Exactly.
So anyway, one of the things that I really shared with people last week and in a lot of tweets that I made was a lot of people are now they're worried about their job. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is what evil people do. They they want you to submit, and if you don't, they're going to start figuring out ways to hurt you. That's all this does. This doesn't have anything. There's no good intent. There's no goal here. The goal is to hurt people who disobey.
Right.
That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I've told people, a lot of people have said, well, if my employer, I work for Joe Bob's Crap Shack and they have over 100 employees and they're going to mandate it, so I'm just going to quit. And I tell people, don't you do that. Don't you quit.
Mm.
Now there's a practical reason why you might not quit, because depending on what the unemployment laws are in your state, it might be that if you get fired, you can get unemployment. If you quit, you can't. So don't you
Right.
quit. But the other reason is, and this is for me, this is really the more important part, is this is violence.
Yes.
This is violence. They're committing violence upon people. It's coercion. And make them own it.
Mm-hmm.
Make them, you go, one of our friends said on Twitter that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to work every day and I'm going to do the best job I can until they come and grab me by the arm and escort me out the door.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make them own it.
Yep. Yep.
And I thought, boy, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Of
I
course,
agree.
for us here at Alan Mosley TV,
Right.
we've got all that covered, guys. Here's if you're a small business owner at home and this is something that may affect you, here's what you do.
Right.
So start an independent media company, make your flagship show a libertarian podcast, and then you won't have to get the jab or pay taxes because you won't have any money or employees.
Right. Yeah, we're about 98 employees short.
Yeah, it's just that easy. I mean, 97, I guess, if you count Sorcerer Rob. But
Right.
I don't even know where. I haven't even seen Rob, and
Yeah,
come to
because
think of
he
it,
has a real life.
I haven't seen Rob and Norm Macdonald both for
What?
about the same amount of time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I-
So, I talked to dozens of people over the course of the end of last week and this past weekend that were basically all telling the same story, which was, through all the crap that's gone on over the last 18, 19, whatever months,
Mhm.
there's, maybe for some of them, there was some stuff they put up with because they were just trying to get by.
Right.
Or maybe you put your foot down, or maybe you were someone who was working remotely, how everybody's closing their offices and you're working from home. And maybe at the end of the day, life wasn't fun, but you were still able to feed your family
Mm-hmm.
and you were still able to pay your bills. Not us, of course. We
Right.
can't feed our families, pay our bills because we lost everything. But for some people, they got to go work at home. They still have stuff. But now they're starting to see the writing on the wall of, well, this is one that I feel like if I'm going to put my foot down somewhere and draw the line, it has to be here.
Yeah.
And and and
Absolutely.
and some people kind of maybe some people beating themselves up a little bit by saying, when they wanted to when they told my kids they had to go home and get on a Zoom call or wear a mask, maybe you didn't draw the line because you felt like it's going to be 2 weeks, right? It's going to be two
Right.
weeks. Or, maybe when you had to work at home, maybe when you had to cancel your trip, maybe when you were concerned, maybe when you couldn't fly anymore or whatever the case may be. Maybe you went along to get along because you thought, surely this can't last forever. And, the most important thing is that I take care of my family. Everything else is secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like some of those people who felt that way are beating themselves up because they're thinking, man, I should have pushed back sooner, because it's
Right.
clear now they're never going to stop.
Right.
They're only going to stop when they meet resistance.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, another thing that people have really, that I've been seeing is I had several people message me, and especially one person, I was up most of the night kind of talking down because he messaged me and said, I'm not all right now. And I pay attention when someone says that to me, because that's usually a pretty good indicator that someone's really not all right. And after going through the almost 2 years of all of this, and then hearing, I think people were thinking there was some light at the end of the tunnel, but that wasn't enough tyranny for the political class, right? They don't
Hmm.
have us totally locked down yet. And so I just had to remind people that just because a politician says something doesn't mean they can do it. They only do it if you don't stand against it, right? And so I think there's a
Sure.
lot to look forward to and there's a lot of hope out there too. But part of it is unplugging from social media a lot. Like, of course, not this show, but a lot of just the day-to-day morons out there. Remember, television, social media, the corporate media, those are all their realm. Those are state operated. And
Hmm.
you're going to get stuff that's maybe not the best for your mental health. So
Sure.
to remember to do that and to just recognize that, the reason they do this is because they want you to feel pressured. They want you to comply. That's what they want. But I think, with the 27 governors, that was the last I heard, standing up to it. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe people are starting to realize they are after our complete submission and we're not going to give it to them. So I hope that's the case.
Well, we were critical on the show here the last few weeks of people like Reason Magazine and old Dick Shitter Robbie So over there. And the reason is that I know that those people will defend themselves with empty platitudes by saying, "Oh, but we're against this type of overreach." Well,
Right.
maybe you are, but when you were looking for an out before, when you
Mm-hmm.
were making statements like, well, look, guys, none of us want to wear the masks anymore, so let's just all break down and get the jab. When
Yeah,
you were willing, these people don't meet you halfway.
exactly.
This is not a compromise, and our rights are not up for debate, much less a vote,
Mhm.
much less an executive order for that matter.
Right.
We're not having a discussion here. You were the one willing to have a discussion with these people, thinking, here, dear Mr. Government, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Leviathan, how about I'll do 1, 3, and 5 of your 6-point plan, but you get rid of 2, 4, and 6, and we'll do that. Leviathan's not interested in your
Yeah,
opinions on his grand scheme. You're going to do what
exactly.
he says or you're going to fight back. That's it. Those are the
Yeah.
only options. And so this mealy mouthed, meet 'em halfway, signal to the regime and all the important people in DC that, look, we totally disavow all these kooky conspiracy theorists who think that you don't have our best interests at heart. But please,
Right.
oh please, will you let me keep this little shred of liberty? Y'all,
Yeah.
tell you what, we were
Yeah.
supposed to have a fun episode this week. Y'all are a
I
fucking
know.
joke. I
I
swear to
know.
God. Y'all really are.
Yeah.
And
And
and and I just want to say that, and I'm not trying to be hard on just regular old working slobs who are just
mm-hmm.
trying to live their life day to day. However, there's some open questions kind of to our community. These are just sort of, these are questions for you. You don't have to answer them because you know the answer in your heart of hearts.
Yeah.
Did you, did you wear a mask? Did you wear a mask because your favorite restaurant wouldn't serve you? Did you did you slap one on your kid and send them off to school because the school administration said that's how they had to be, otherwise they couldn't come, and you sent them anyway, knowing that that's child abuse? Did you did you comply? Did you go get the jab because a hysterical friend or family member said, "I'm going to cut you out of my life if you don't do this for me"? Did you comply to make those people feel better? Because if you did those things, you're part of the reason why we're here now. You're part of the problem. If you never put your foot down at any point along the lines, then they're just going to keep up. We've talked about on the show before. They only know one thing, and that's escalation and force. That's
Yep.
all they know. They will only ever escalate and escalate and escalate
Mm-hmm.
until either you've had enough or you're defeated. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they'll do.
Yeah, I think this is, one of the things that as a radical, and I always try to remember that I'm a radical, right? I want to call things what they are, not what the political class would like you to call them, like, taxation being theft or, whatever. That they don't want you to reveal that, or shots being rape. But people don't want to be radical. They want to um, pander to the people who are, well, let's be the middlers, let's be reasonable, let's be this, when these people are never reasonable. And you should never, like you said, you draw that line. You never give on your personal rights, your freedoms, because they're not looking to do that. And that article, the essay that Rothbard wrote on being radical, that's something I keep at the forefront of my mind. Is I want them to defend their evil actions. I want them to defend rape. I'm going to call it that. That's the way I see it. I feel that it would be rape on me and anyone else that it happens to. And so I want them to defend that, because they want to hide it. And those middlers, the people in the middle, they're always the worst. I have more respect for people who are on the other side completely and want to violate me almost, not quite, but than somebody who can't make up their mind after all of the evidence that we've seen, and you're still trying to be reasonable with these people. You're not on my team. I don't know. You go pick what you want, but you ain't on my team.
Well, I want to comment on that. You brought up, you're talking about all the different, I think it's something up to something like 27, 28 states now, or whatever it is, that are going to combine together to sue over the mandates. And if I'm a betting man, I think they get struck down. I think they get struck down in the same way that the eviction moratorium got struck down, where the court says, well, they just don't have the authority to do it. Like, we're not even ruling whether or not it's right or wrong. What we're ruling is they don't have the authority to do it. So, I mean, if I'm a betting man, that's what I think is probably going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point I want to make is if that's what you're hanging your hat on, if your means of resistance is, well, we're gonna call our lawyers and we're gonna go to federal court and we're gonna argue in front of a federal judge that the federal government's being big meanie doo-doo heads, and then we're gonna hope that federal judge says that the federal government is wrong. We've been there before, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
That usually don't work. And not only does it usually not work, but even because I had said about Reason that they're like a microcosm of the Everett leftward shift in the Overton window. If they put out 100 ridiculous mandates and 95 of them get struck down, all of the conservatives of the world and the GOP will say, look at this grand victory we've just achieved.
Yes.
But it's not a victory, because it still moved 5% that way.
Right.
You'll ever notice, by the way, they never move 5% the other way. That never, ever, it doesn't even occur to them to do it, right? Like it doesn't even occur to them to try to move the needle the other way. So the point is that, and I know that this has been echoed by some of our good friends like Michael Walden in the 10th Amendment Center, that there are things that you can do, and there's things that perhaps you can do more at the local level. But if your entire argument is that we're going to put together a case in front of a federal judge against the federal government, you're just in for a bad time. You really are. And I even go a step further and say, I actually kind of hope the little bitty, the inner collapsitarian in me actually just wants them to rule it totally legal and constitutional, because then all of those people around the country that thought like that was their silver bullet, now they're going to have to decide, you ready for the rubber to hit the road or not, big boys?
Right.
Because they just told you bend over and take it. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears here really quick. I actually had an article that I wanted to show you, sort of buried in the news between the end of Afghanistan and the start of this mandate announcement. This was the last thing that the Biden administration did on their way out the door of Afghanistan. Take a look at this article right here. U.S. drone strike mistakenly, the military called righteous, mistakenly targeted an aid worker and killed 10 Afghan civilians, including 7 kids, a report says. The U.S. military claimed an August 29th drone strike successfully took out an imminent threat. They were targeting ISIS-K, which was one of those things that you'd never heard of that existed before until like last week.
Till they needed it too.
The New York Times report, based on newly obtained footage, suggests the strike mistakenly targeted an aid worker who worked for the Americans, who they had footage of him supposedly driving this suspicious white sedan filled with explosives. Well, it was his car, and it was filled with jugs of water he was taking home to his family. So they killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. Boy, is that, first of all, I have a point to go there with that, but isn't that just a microcosm of the whole war on terror right there?
Yep.
Isn't it really? That's just a perfect example of everything. But I want to end here on this, is that if you're asking yourself, well, why did we suddenly take a left turn at bombing innocent people in Afghanistan. The reason is this. The reason I'm sharing this with you in a segment about these boneheaded mandates is because the same people who ran a 20-year war on terror that did little to stop terror, but it sure did bring a lot of terror here home for us. And then they murdered a house full of innocent people and children on their way out the door. Those are the same people who waged a war on poverty, which of course only led to the flatlining economic growth for the most impoverished people, and more income equality for the leftist types that are really about that. That just caused more of that, not less.
Yeah.
The same people who waged a war on drugs, which, I mean, that's probably the most laughable one, I think, to just an average person on the street. All the war on drugs did is lead the United States to being the biggest penal colony on earth, while drugs can be found at every corner of America, including in the prisons, by the way.
Exactly.
These are the same people who now expect you to do as they command with your medical care, or you lose the right to live your life as you see fit. Those are not different people. They're not cut from a different cloth. It's the same people.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
We've said, if we've said it 100 times, we'll say it again. They're liars. And once you know that they're liars and that they're evil and that their ego and hubris and malice knows no bounds, and once you know that they despise you and everything about you, why would you give them an inch?
Right.
Why would you say, okay, I'll do this mandate, but not the next one? We're not having that conversation. If you're even engaged in that conversation, you're absolutely useless to us.
Yep.
You really are.
No middlers.
No middlers.
Yeah.
Dingers, am I right?
Dingers. Damn dingers.
Guys, we're going to be back with tonight's musical guest right after this commercial break. Don't go away. If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. Anyway, that guys, Sherry's not the musical guest.
Thank God.
Tonight's musical guest is an 18-year-old Japanese fingerstyle guitarist whose work you can find on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as his website, which is www.kentnishimura.online, all of which you can find in the show notes right underneath this video. Performing his own original arrangement and orchestration of the classic Carole King hit, It's Too Late. Boy, how appropriate is that for this program. Yes. Performing Carole King's It's Too Late, ladies and gentlemen, Kent Nishimura. Holy cow. How about that?
That was great.
Kent, excellent job. Well done. I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for letting us use that performance. Guys, check out Kent's website. It's www.kentnishimura.online, but we're going to have all the links to where you can find Kent and his music and support him. Tabs to his orchestrations. He did the orchestration of that as well as perform it.
Nice.
We're going to be back to wrap up the show right after this commercial break. Tonight's show was sponsored by the Counter Narrative Report. The CNR is all about bringing you a rational look at the supposed official narratives being peddled by big tech and the corporate press. Cut through the propaganda and enjoy a safe haven for the free expression of ideas, as well as joining a free interactive online forum by visiting the Counter Narrative Report at www.the-cnr.com. That's www.the-cnr.com. Like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/AlanMosleyTV. You can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/AlanMosleyTV. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/AlanMosleyTV. Also, don't forget, we're on Odyssey. It's odyssey.com. You can find us at Alan Mosley TV. And if you're a listener instead of a watcher, we're on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Thanks to Anchor FM. It's anchor.fm/Alan Mosley TV. I could play like that if I practice. I didn't want to.
Right. Exactly. What a nice tone.
Boy, Sherry, do you have a final thought?
Yeah, I do. I don't think Norm Macdonald ever bothered any kids. Be like
He
Norm.
didn't bother any kids. That's probably why they fired him from Weekend Update.
It's probably why he's no longer with us from cancer.
Yeah. That's sad.
Very.
I wasn't going to say anything, but, a good friend of ours had a similar situation as this very recently. So if he's watching, I hope he knows that this episode was just as much for him and his as it was for Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of It's Too Late, and we will see you next week.